Crazy stuff. Can he give his creatures haste? So we're not going wide anymore. He's going way wider than us. This is incredible. Very cool gameplay footage here. I've never seen such madness before. Holy moly, you guys. Can we chump block and have him mill himself? Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for taking the time to watch Hello Good Game. We are playing Historic Goblins within Mono Red today. This deck is a beast. This is no joke. We can consistently close out games on turn 3, turn 4, and if we take our time as late as turn 5. So this deck packs a punch, and it is Goblin Tribal, and it really revolves around Krenko Mob Boss. This is a 3/3 who can tap to create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control. And when we're flooding the field with goblins, it's not uncommon to be making 10 or 20 of these tokens at a time, especially if we're able to double tap him. So this deck is incredibly powerful as far as a creature-based aggro deck goes. There's no burn spells incorporated within it. It is all creature-based. So let's start to break down the deck list in its entirety. And I want to remind you, if you find any value within this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and share the channel to a friend. Historic Goblins starts out with 4 copies of Skirk Prospector. This is a 1/1 in which we can sacrifice any goblin of ours on the field. And we got an update here. So we can sacrifice any of our goblins on the field to add 1 red mana source, which is quite cool. Onto our 2-drops, Wily Goblin. This is another 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield, it creates a treasure artifact, which we can sacrifice to add 1 mana of any color. Conspicuous Snoop. Now this is one of the key components within the deck. It's a 2/2 Goblin Rogue. Play with the top card of your library revealed. Yes, please. Not only you get to see this, but your opponent does as well, so be mindful of this. You may cast goblin spells from the top of your library. Okay, as long as the top card of your library is a goblin card, Conspicuous Snoop has all of the activated abilities of that card. Now this gets very interesting. It doesn't come into play a lot, however, it is possible to link this up with our Mob Lord, right? So we talked about Wily Goblin. Goblin Instigator. This is another 1/1. However, when it enters the battlefield, it's going to create an additional 1/1 red goblin creature token. So that's 2 goblins for 2. That's always good. Onto our 3-drops, Goblin Matron. This is another 1/1, so a lot of our goblins are quite weak, you'll begin to notice. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a goblin card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So that's a great way to pull out anything that we may need for the situation at hand. Goblin Chieftain, a 2/2 with haste. Other goblin creatures you control have +1/+1 and will also have haste. So that's incredibly powerful. It's a nice lord to give an anthem effect to all of your creatures, making them stronger. And when we're going so wide with creatures, this is extremely beneficial. Goblin Warchief, another 2/2. However, goblin spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and goblins you control will have haste from this gentleman as well. So it's really easy to get your goblins out on the field with haste. We have a single copy of Goblin Ringleader, our first 4-drop. It's a 2/2, also with haste. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all goblin cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You get to pick. Krenko Mob Boss ×3. This card is an absolute beast, boys. A legendary creature, Goblin Warrior, 3/3. You can tap it to create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control, and we're going to be flooding the field with them. It gets worse though. Muxus Goblin Grandee. I call him the Goblin King. It's a 4/4 with 6, so pretty expensive. This is where some of that sacrifice goblin to add mana will come into effect. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put all goblin creature cards with converted mana cost 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So we don't have any instances or sorcery, so all of our land will go to the bottom, and then all of the goblins come onto the field. Whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other goblin you control. So he is going to be a big hitter, forcing your opponent to chump block him, right? So these spells are accompanied by 4 Castle Embereth. We can pay 4 to give all of our creatures +1/+0 on the attack, which is quite nice. And then we have a bunch of mountains. It doesn't show us the name or the total there. 20 mountains. It won't give us the number with this new land art. And I had people ask, how do you get that land art? It's within the new Jumpstart event. I got it from the Chandra deck. So if you're looking for some of these new rare land arts, they're within the Jumpstart event. Let's talk about the sideboard. We've got 3 Tomrad's Crypt, which is tap it to sacrifice it and exile all cards from target player's graveyard. the Gem Palm Incinerator, cycling for 2. It's a 2/1. Whenever you cycle it, you may have it deal X damage to target creature, where X is the number of goblins on the battlefield. So this is a great form of removal within the deck. 3 copies of Goblin Chainwhirler, 3/3 first strike when he enters the battlefield. It deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker that they control. 3 copies of Goblin Ruinblaster, a 2/1 with haste, kicker for 1, making it 4 total. When Goblin Ruinblaster enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, destroy target non-basic land. A single copy of Legion Warboss, a 2/2 with Mentor. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. If that token, that token gains haste until the end of turn and attacks each combat if able. We also have a single copy of Goblin Trashmaster. This is a 4-drop, 3/3. Other goblins you control get +1/+1. So an additional Anthem Lord here, which is really nice. Sacrifice a goblin, destroy target artifact, which is very cool within the current meta in certain decks. So that's the deck list. It's not too in-depth. It's really creature heavy and creature friendly, which is nice. We're just playing those creatures out as fast as we can, flooding the field. But let's begin to break down the deck's strategies and synergies. How do all of these individual goblins work together to form the horde? So a couple things I want to mention. Muxus is incredibly expensive. So this is a 6-drop. However, we want to push this out on the battlefield as a priority. Playing up to 6 goblin cards from the top of our library to the field is disgusting. Like, this is really good. This is like the new Winota, except he doesn't even need to attack. It's just when it enters the battlefield. Especially when the rest of our deck is so heavily stacked with goblin creatures, right? So we want to ramp into the Goblin Grandee as quickly and efficiently and consistently as possible. This is done in a few ways. We have the Prospector. Sacrifice a goblin, add a mana. All right, so having this on the field is great. You don't have to sacrifice himself. You can sacrifice any goblin that you control to add this mana. So things like Goblin Instigator come in very handy. Not only is this a great aggro creature off the start, you can get a couple points of damage in, but maybe once he throws up those walls, those defenders, we sacrifice these 2 goblins that we made on 1 turn to add additional mana. So we can play a mana on turn 1, play our Prospector. On turn 2, we play an additional mana. We play our Instigator, right? And then on turn 3, we play our 3rd mana. We have 3 creatures on the field. We attack with our 3 creatures, get those 3 damage in, and then we sacrifice those 3 goblins, play our Muxus. Now he floods the field for us on turn 3. So that is a very powerful move that we can do. Other than that, we do have a little bit more ramp within Wily Goblin. If you're not keen to sacrificing your creatures right away, sacrificing 3 creatures just to get your Muxus out, which I do recommend. I still think that's a very good play as long as there's no counterspell or removal waiting for you. Wily Goblin will also help us ramp getting that treasure token. And then, of course, Goblin Warchief. Goblin spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and they all have haste, which is really, really cool. So there's a few ways to reduce the cost of things like your Muxus and your Krenko Mob Boss. The Warchief is a little expensive, but giving your goblins haste as well is really, really cool, especially when we start tapping our Mob Boss to create all of those 1/1 tokens. They're going to have haste now, which is incredibly powerful. So that's the ramp. We're normally only really ramping into Muxus and the Mob Boss. The rest is pretty low mana priority, and we can just flood the field with it at will. Things that are incredibly high priority instead of Muxus, instead of Krenko, is Conspicuous Snoop. Now, there does lie a play line in where we have Conspicuous Snoop, we play it on turn 2 on our curve, then we draw a land for our turn 3, and then underneath our land lays the Mob Boss. And that will give Conspicuous Snoop the ability to tap to create those goblins. So we tap, Conspicuous Snoop creates either 1 or 2 goblins, probably 2 because ideally we played that 1-drop. So we're creating 2 goblins, and then we draw our actual Mob Boss, right? Because Conspicuous Snoop won't be the legendary. He just has that ability while it's on top of the deck. So once we draw it, it loses the ability. We already have 4 goblins on the field. Mob Boss can hit the field, and now he can tap to create 5 goblins, which is really, really cool. So there's a really nice play within having your Conspicuous Snoop out early and then pulling a land and having your Krenko underneath of that land. So that's a really fun play. Other than that, Conspicuous Snoop is just fire. This gives you such virtual card advantage. Not having to play cards from your hand, being able to hold your hand, playing them from the top of your library is incredible. That is as good as free draws without having to spend any mana to get them, right? So Conspicuous Snoop is an incredible value engine, and it is similar to Experimental Frenzy, where you can top deck forever. Now, what gets really fun here is we have our Prospector. We play our Conspicuous Snoop, right? Now we are playing goblins from the top of our library at will. Potentially we get our Mob Boss out, which can tap to create a bunch of tokens. These new goblin creature tokens that we just made can be re-sacrificed with our Prospector, which now allows us to play more creature cards or more goblins off the top of our library with Conspicuous Snoop. So within the Prospector, the Snoop, and the War Boss lies an almost infinite way to play cards from your library with using Goblin as mana to do so, which is really, really cool. Especially if we have things like Warchief out, which reduces the cost of our goblins, and then we play our Instigator for 1, which makes 2 goblins, which we can then sacrifice to make 2 mana. So we're turning 1 mana into 2, which is really, really cool. It's a great way to just ramp past your opponent. So we've talked about Conspicuous Snoop, how important that is. We talked about the Instigator, the Wily Goblin, the Goblin Matron. This is just in here for the sake of consistency. Different matches are going to make you play different ways. So if you need to pull a card for that particular interaction, this is how you get it. Whether it be a Chieftain to give goblins +1/+1 in haste, whether it be a Prospector so you can start sacrificing goblins for land, or just a plain old Mob Boss or Muxus, right? So there's a lot of really cool cards that you can pull out with your Matron depending on the situation, which makes it very, very nice. Chieftain, haste, +1/+1, sign me up. We talked about the Warchief. The Ringleader is in here as well. If we get hit with a field wipe, it's really cool to be able to replenish our hand, and the Ringleader does a great job of that. We talked about Krenko making these 1/1s. If we have a Goblin Warchief or Chieftain out, they're going to have haste, and that's going to be incredible. Castle Embereth also tags really well with all of the tokens that we make, and Muxus will just flood the field, hopefully putting out things like our Goblin Chieftain to make all of our goblins stronger, right? So there's a lot of really cool ways to go about this. Muxus can even put in things like the Ringleader and the Matron to give us those additional enter the battlefield effects like Instigator as well. So there is a ton of value within this main board. It's kind of crazy. So you should have no problem climbing into Mythic with these historic goblins. Now, there's a lot of new cards in here. Like we've got 4 rare Muxuses, we've got 3 rare Krenkos. So it's going to hit your wildcards pool a little bit. We've even got 4 new Chieftains as well. So and 4 Conspicuous Snoop. So you're going to have a few rares. Castle Embereth is a rare as well. There's no Mythics here, which do make it incredibly friendly. Not in the sideboard either. So that's the general deck strategy. I think it's not too far from being attainable, especially since this is a historic deck. This deck's never rotating out. So when you build this Goblin deck, you're going to have this Goblin deck forever. It's always going to be working for you, and it's always going to be a top tier deck. Goblins are nasty. So don't be scared to spend your rares on this historic Goblin deck and begin to play that historic queue. Let's talk about the sideboard guide though here. So we've got the Tormad's Crypt. This is useful for a few ways. We can get rid of the opponent's graveyard so they can't escape Uro or have Uro in it and get rid of it. That's always really nice. So any escape things that we want to get out of the graveyard is great. We can also potentially get rid of our own graveyard. We ran into a position where our opponent was playing Drowned in the Loch on us quite a bit and utilizing our graveyard against us. So whenever you need to empty a graveyard, the Crypt is going to do it for you. It's a 0 cost, and you can tap it immediately. So there's almost no consequence in playing it, except for the fact that it eats up a card within your deck. So maybe even potentially scrub out a land for that Crypt if you feel so inclined. We've got the Gem Palm Incinerator. Now this is our only form of removal within the deck. So if your opponent is playing something like creature based, like a Questing Beast or a Lovestruck Beast, something that just is going to stop all your attackers, which really sucks, the Gem Palm Incinerator is going to deal with it for you. So you should be able to flood the field with goblins and then just knock out anything that your opponent has with the Incinerator. So great removal. Goblin Chainwhirler, this is great against white weenies. It's great against some of the Planeswalker decks. Like if it's Fairy Minuses, Chainwhirler will eat it because it's only got 1. The white weenies flood the field. Flooding the field with 1 toughness creatures will eat those as well. So this is a great way to get really good card advantage, playing 1 card and potentially eating 3 of your opponent's cards up, which is cool as well. So the Goblin Ruinblaster is great against Field of the Dead, for example, Castle Embereth, any of the really good lands that your opponent is going to utilize to win the game. Legion Warboss, this is great against the slower decks that are really trying to play a long con. It's a 2/2 with Mentor, and he always makes a 1/1 red goblin whenever he attacks. So that's cool. It's a nice way to flood the field if there's no removal for us and no blockers. The Goblin Trashmaster, this is a 3/3 Lord. +1/+1 on all of our creatures is what that means, an Anthem effect there. We can also sacrifice a Goblin to destroy target artifact. And now this is sacrifice a Goblin, similar to our Prospector, where it doesn't have to be himself. So this basically just gives us limitless artifact removal. It's a great way to pick up those Witch's Ovens, for example. It doesn't hit enchantments, which is a bummer, but you know, we do whatever we can within the matches that we have. So this is Historic Goblins, you guys. That's the general deck tech and sideboard guide. I hope you found some value out of it, and now I hope when you play this deck, you're going to have a better idea of how to operate it within the meta. So we're going to get into some gameplay footage here really quick, but before I do, I have to remind you that we're live on YouTube every morning, 6 a.m. Mountain Standard. At 7 a.m. we go live on Twitch for literally the whole day, almost sometimes it feels like, and we're in the Discord for the remainder of the day. So come say hello. I'd love to talk with you. Links for everything is in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this channel out to a friend, and be sure to hit that bell icon so you're notified of all of our future releases. Get ready for Historic Goblins, you guys. Let's get into it. I'll talk to you in a bit with my closing thoughts. 2 lands, a little bit of ramp, a little bit of Snoop. Okay. A little bit of tokens. We'll see what we come up against here. Probably just ramping into our Warchief. I like to keep the Snoop for a little bit later after we know what we're playing against. It sucks to play into a removal spell. There's just so much value you can get from them. Priest of Forgotten Gods is quite literally my nightmare. I'm not even kidding. So we know he's got Claim the Firstborn. So we're not playing our Snoop. Let's just go really wide. As long as we can dodge Claim the Firstborn, it should be okay. This probably would have been a good play. Sack 1 for 2, but I think we can just spam out next turn. Let's just try to go really wide and bully our opponent before he can really adjust to the game plan. We really want our mob boss. I'm not into it. Do you think he sacks both suppliers? Oh, he mills a devil and a flame. Do it again. Mayhem and a devil this time. Oh, a lot of land. And another devil! Man, you're really killing it. He still has 3. Cauldron Familiar, okay. Down to 2. Sacks it as well for a double draw. No food tokens though, so it's not coming back. Oh, yeah it is. He'll have to sack something else though. Let's snoop and see what's on the top of our library. That's a land. So we have a nice hit here. Alright, it's not too big, but it's still worthwhile in my opinion. No. It's a good hit. It could be bigger, but nonetheless, we get in there. Let's end our turn. Kills his priest. That's music to my ears. You have no idea. Another Woe Strider, taking up the majority of his mana. Here's the cat. We still have lots of life. And we're playing from the top. This is such high value, not playing from your hand. Krenko Mob Boss, please and thank you. Let's just go for it. We have to submit one at a time, which is a bummer, but... And now, these will all have haste as well. And we can continue to sack them for more mana, which is just, like, so deadly. So now our Warchief can come out and we'll sack those tokens, and it just kind of goes on and on, so... Sorry, Rakdos Sacrifice. I got you. However, this doesn't get easier for us after the sideboard. He knows he wants to claim the Firstborn. Right? Every single thing we have is under 3. Trashmaster can kill one of his dudes. And why was he self-milling so hard? 17 cards in his grave. That's a huge self-mill. He must have, like, some shenanigans to bring stuff back. Let's drop our Ringleader. I think we just want to risk it for the biscuit again and just try to go really wide and outvalue him. We do take in the Trashmaster to kill that oven if we need. We're thinking about the crypt, but until we know that he's actually utilizing his graveyard, we don't want to risk it. Warboss is cool, but everything that's cool is also cool for him to take with his Claim the Firstborn. So we think about removal for his Mayhem Devil potentially. But again, maybe we just flood it and go that much harder than he can. I think goblins are very strong right now. 3 lands, pretty cool. And we actually ride our curve up really nicely. So just kind of counting on some top decks here. Turn 1 oven. Very nice. Just no priest. Just no priest, baby. Oh no. So we're gonna go wide again to try to avoid just that killer sack effect. One supplier. Another supplier, so really into that self-mill again. He gets a little bit luckier this time. There's no devils in there, right? No Claim the Firstborn, so... Oof. Straight up with the double sack though, so it's just super duper mill. Bone Crusher Giant, 2 claims. Okay, now we're talking. And let's get rid of the Instigator, I guess, prior to the token, just because we want to spread out our 1-drops, 0-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops. I don't think he's got a Blast Zone, but you never know. 2 Ovens, also in the grave. Okay. Sacking the 1 goblin to make 2 goblins, why not? We get the hidden, taking him down to 16. We are mentoring for our mob boss next turn. We're gonna stack our goblin so his firstborn doesn't trigger it. Right? We don't take the damage, he doesn't get to use the oven on it, or his priest. It is what it is. I mean, I didn't want to do that, but this is the world we live in. We're right into our mob boss here. Well, we could also be pretty funny and go with Muxus, but 1, 2, 3, 4. We're dropping for 5, and we have 6. Muxus could work. Or we just be consistent. No attacks and turn. Good game. He knows exactly where this is headed. And yeah, he milled a couple of his claims and then we dealt with the others. So playing around his deck just by knowing how it really handles our own deck and then trying to mitigate those negative results into a somewhat more positive experience. Alrighty, this looks like a really great hand, right? Just kidding, there's no land. I know Goblins is low to the ground, but it's not that low to the ground. Opponent goes first. We have nice 2-drops that lead into these very nice cards. This is the epitome of risking it for the biscuit. We have 1 land and no 1-drops. We need a land off the top. Let's set our stop here. Visualize the mountains. Fiery volcanoes such as yonder. That's absolutely perfect, right? And now, just with that 2 land, we could do our whole deck potentially. I mean, we do want that 3rd, which we get. Loving it. Which is our Warchief. Or maybe our War Boss, or our Mob Boss. Dimir has lots of removal, so let's play it safe. Probably some stupid flash creatures that I'm not expecting. Or just an eliminate. They make it through, that's fine with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mountain comes out, brings us to 4. He's totally tapped. I say we save our mob boss for now. Just refill our hand. So now we can actually throw our mob boss away because we know we have a 2nd. Narset, whatever.
If you wish to surrender, keep an open
He needs
mind.
more cries, more rituals. land. Destroy target creature with converted mana cost equal or less than to the number of cards in the controller's graveyard, 0. Counter target spell with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard, also 0. So he's not countering jack shit. But he could destroy it later on. Let's take the haste off of our mob boss. Hit Narset for 2.
Fury will only lead you astray.
That's going to eliminate his draw. Which is great. And now we're kind of left to do whatever we want. He has full mana, so we need to be aware of that. He did kill our mob boss, so we don't want to be too crazy, right? Let's add some mana off the start. And then, honestly, I want the Chieftain, but I think also the Snoop. 1 engrave, so he can kill those. Let's play the Snoop for now. Try to kill the Narset. I'm sure he'll just let it happen.
I won't forget our time together.
Ending our turn, because we don't want to use this mana on a Snoop just into another Cry. Right? So let's try to play it slow and just hold hand advantage. Right? Keep card advantage from him and we should do okay. Okay, does he take Muxus or does he take the mob boss? I think Muxus. They're both real bad to leave, but it's like Muxus will end the game. So we can counter things for 2. Let's double Chieftain. He's focused on our mob boss. I think we're still going above him pretty successfully. The counter does nothing. He can destroy the Snoop or something. Okay, Sinister Sabotage. Old school, baby. Very nice hit, though. Looking for 10, down to 5. -4/-4 on all creatures. Are you kidding me? And now he's got free counters available. Let's go our Snoop. We know he's going to counter that. You may as well. Definitely not something you leave on the battlefield. 2 drown in the logs. Interesting. That's all his mana, though, so fine with us. Take action. You know it's another Muxus. Let's try it out again. I'm sure we'll see the counter. Yep. Sinister Sabotage, though. Interesting. So he still has plenty of counters available. We see 1 more in his hand, so it could be 2. Might just be 1. The Surveil helps to find another, though. We're just trying to build some land here. And get this Muxus to reflood the field. Oh, Shark Typhoon. We will sacrifice our Krenko to his counter. it hits, he may just remove it rather than countering it. And Ashiok is going to bounce it to our hand. No, it pluses. Interesting.
Your fears are given form.
Four, 5, 6. And we know it gets countered. But that means that he doesn't kill our mob boss. Right? And we have 2 copies of Muxus. So it's forcing him to use his Drown in the Lock here on it. 100%. And then that keeps the Drown in the Lock from killing our mob boss. He has another one? Are you kidding me? Wow, this guy has gone so lucky. 3 drowns in the top 20 cards. Wow.
My kin are delightfully
All right, we get exiled here. No, we don't. We're okay. Okay, he played a land. He played a land, you guys. Deep breaths. Hopefully that was not a counter. He's just gonna save it. What a jerk. What did he get? What did he get? It goes too fast to see. Instigator, Warchief. Okay, nothing too bad. What he should do is minus his Ashiok on our token, our Goblin token, because the token doesn't go to our hand and we still have to discard. Shh, don't tell him. He still holds the counter though. Okay. Let's make a ton of 1/1s. We could have brought the Mana Lord and forced him to counter on that as well. That may have been a better play, right? Sacking 3 tokens here for our additional 3 mana. And now we have to see Drown the Lock. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. There would be so many. We're losing 1 here just to keep him from hitting 7. Right? We don't want a minus. That would suck, playing a couple of our cards here for free. We have his counters gone. He has a Castle Embereth, and he has a draw step. So he's got a couple options as far as beating us goes. He's chilling, right? We get him for 1. We lose the 1 goblin, that's fine.
Love your desperation.
End our turn. Here's the scry 2. Our opponent's turn. His best bet, like we said before, is that Ashiok minus on one of our tokens. Are you joking me? We should have pushed it last turn. Shoot. Ashiok minus on our Krenko. Yeah, no. No one makes me bleed my own blood. Alright, we need this top deck power, you guys. Castle Embereth, a lord that buffs us. So many options. A lord that buffs us. That's why you always set your stop on your draw phase. Think about exactly what card you need to win the game, right? Don't let the game tell you what you're drawing. You tell the game what you're drawing. And that's how you get clutch wins just like this. Against a Dimir control deck. Interesting. So, how are we sideboarding against this? That was quite the match. He had so much removal. Oh my lord, did I ever hate that. Getting rid of our graveyard would help. Nullify Drown in the Lock, but it's like, is that required? Is that a good thing? I mean, I don't think playing around it is that big of a deal. The War Boss is great, maybe, but I think we should keep the Ringleader, just because he did have those field wipes that we've seen. Drive the Carnarium, for example, so we're keeping the deck the same, just because it's not a standard meta deck that we normally see in Dimir control, so. Trying to keep the graveyards semi-empty, organically. I'm not sure that spending spells to nullify our own graveyard to keep counterspells away is, like, I feel like that's tit for tat in the wrong direction. 3 land. Okay. We need to beat him to his Sinister Sabotage. Right into the Thought Rager. Here goes Muxus. Might take the Snoop too, though. Snoop is very good value. Either way, the Matron takes whatever I lose back into my hand later on, so. Do your worst, bro. The Snoop, I believe, is the correct pick. Trying to jump past Cry of the Carnarium here. This is the checkpoint. It's a hard pick. I almost want to just grab the Snoop. Let's take the Mob Boss, though, just for safekeeping. That way, even if he takes our Muxus, we can use our Mob Boss instead. We're sitting on 4, 5... And he takes Muxus. Okay. Okay, whatever. And then that's 2 in our grave, which still makes Krenko okay to be played. Unless he just has a hard counter here, which I'm sure he does. No hard counter. That's nice. 1 damage in. We're okay to attack. We haven't seen any flash creatures, so no flash blockers. And here's the removal through Heartless Act. We're both... Oh, gross. Ringleader's a good drop right there just to replenish our hand a bit. We're running low. Let's play our Snoop. No attack, sadly. We get to play our Lord and Instigator with haste, so maybe we get a good hit in here if we can avoid the sweeper. He takes the land away from us. No blocks. Are you kidding me? There's the Thought Erasure for the Chieftain. That's fine. We still have a good hit on Ashiok here, I believe. He goes to 7. But he's got the blocker, that's annoying. That's incredibly annoying. No attacks. Let's just try to hit him with our Castle Embereth next turn, maybe. Another Ashiok, okay. Bingo, bango, bongo. Please don't have a counterspell. If he's got it, it's clutch. 7 in our graveyard, drown in the lock. Gets in by 1. Oh, cry, 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 cry. That's gonna be game, just on that drown in the lock. No blocks. A lot of land in exile here. There's not so much for creatures for him to take. I mean, I would still do it, but they're pretty low cost cards, so they're not the greatest.
Creeping, thieving progeny.
Really? A Heartless Act? Murderous Rider. Even worse. Everybody gets knocked back down to 2. Oh, no attacks. Good game. Well, Speedman turn 3, or round 3 on the play. I guess we take some Crypts. That just seems like such a waste for me, but... And -4/-4, does that ever suck? Just split everything down to make room for it. This is gonna get real weird. Playing first, terrible draw hand. This doesn't look any better. Keeping 6, tossing a land. We can flood into Muxus before he can counter, sure. Which, actually, we can. We can drop Muxus next turn. And I'm going to do it. Let's take our attack first. Auto pay. Hopefully there's no counter target creature spell for 2. Big money, big money. That's a nice flood. Probably should have done it before we attacked. However, we do have haste, so we can activate this ability. And again, we should have done that later on, but it'll happen before the cry hits anyway, so hopefully he's got nothing in his hand to deal with this, and we've just, on turn 3, exploded the field on our opponent here. We have the mob boss to hit next turn as well if he deals with this one, so that's pretty cool. Here is the cry. Still gets a lot of value there. Let's go Goblin, make the mana. Let's go Snoop, make the mana as well. There's no haste here, but I still think we're in a better position. And then we hit for 11 because of all the tokens we made, so that should get us close enough. He needs another Cry of the Carnarium. Oh my god, he's getting so lucky. Could you imagine being that lucky? Removal after removal. Down to 5 still, though. He doesn't have field presence, needs a Heartless Act. Right, I'm sure he's got plenty more removal. Are you kidding me? Haste off the top, anything. Yeah, so we're pulling the Lord. That gives us +1 in haste. Playing the mana. Playing him. Attacking for 4. We got him down to 1. Right, he needs to wipe the field again on us. Death Touch Lifelink. I do not appreciate that. This secondary Lord should save us though, as long as it doesn't get countered. No Heartless Act, instant speed, there's no black mana. Cycles a Shark. It helps. I think that's enough, right? Gains 2. Goes, yeah, that's game. That's good game. Oh, good game. We just sneak it in, you guys, down to 0. And what a close match. Playing around in the lock was actually harder than we imagined against Dimir Control. I always love to play first. No 1 drop. We got some 2 drops into our turn 3. Mob boss? Question mark? So he has removal. He definitely needs to hit it. We can double drop. No Storm's Wrath. No Storm's Wrath. No, we're good. He's just ramping. Let's play from the top. We activate our Krenko, and then we can keep sacking them with our Prospector to keep playing. He sees the combo. He's even faster at it than us. Right, so what was he playing? Who knows? Temur Elementals. I guess Warboss, maybe? And then let's drop our Ringleader. 3 drop for 4 drop. Trim it down a little bit. We don't really know what kind of Temur he's playing. I'm not sure I want to bring in the sacrifice artifact or enchantment as if it's not reclamation, right? It's not bad. Oh, land off the top sucks though. Another land on the top. Jeez Louise. Okay, kills our Snoop. In for one. Whew! First blood, baby. The Risen Reef. Okay, okay. Chainwhirler now becomes more viable. Does he play another elemental? No shit there. Nice, Leaf Kindred. Another ramp or draw? It's a ramp. Let's try to play from our top. Ooh. That is a good pickup. We're all in. We mentor one of our little dudes. Takes 3 damage, still down to 16. How are we going to execute over top of this Field of the Dead? Well, Krenko Mob Boss. Hopefully he's got no removal. Interesting. A double Blazing Volley. Nice. Clears the field before we can play our Krenko. Bummer. Alright, he's going nuts. We may want to exile his graveyard and sideboard as well to get rid of Uro. Let's just get the Mob Boss in play. Hopefully we can spam with a Muxa. Nice, that's 3 damage. Okay, let's call this one. Let's wrap it up and we'll get him on the play. I think that double Blazing Volley was rare. So we're dropping some of our lower priority creatures that have 1 defense or 1 toughness, because we think he's just going to Blazing Volley again. Taking our Goblin Chainwhirler to deal with his little dude. This is a nice mana curve that does build into Muxus, as long as we can avoid that Blazing Volley, right? So we're going to probably fall prey to the exact same thing. But let's keep ramping right off the start here, really excessively. Explore, that's fine. As long as there's no early game Blazing Volley. That takes us to 3. We could immediately drop. I say let's do it. I think we basically just played that 2 for nothing. We should have kept that in our hand and just used the mana. Oh well. Sacrificing the whole team for Muxus, the Goblin King, who floods them all back out. And then we do get a couple cool things here. So we get the treasure token back, and then we get to look for another Goblin and shuffle our library. So we're taking that land off the top, which is nice. And you know who we're going for. It's the Mob Boss. It's our boy. And then we're able to play off the top here, which I like. Just kind of sacrificing this treasure for another Goblin. Land on top. Yeah, let's leave it. And we just pray that there's no volley here. Yeah, that's gonna be game, I'm pretty sure. We don't need many turns to execute. Oh, he does get it. Dirty dog. I mean, let's just go for it, even though we don't have haste. We have a nice attack for 6, actually 8, so he'll take it? I thought he was blocking that for sure. Down to 11. We have our 3 best creatures on the field, with our best sideboard card coming out after him in a second. This is a good ramp. He's getting closer to Field of the Dead as well. Ouch. Let's just keep playing from our library. Right, that's fairly good. And we just all attack, question mark. We're gonna lose our Snoop. We have one in our hand though. He definitely needs to block Muxus is the thing. Really? So Snoop hits. I don't necessarily want to sack. Oh, we don't have that guy on the field anymore. We can't sack Goblins. No more Goblin sacrifices. Down quite a bit. We can clear his graveyard at instant speed, so if Earl hits the field, we clear it. We've gone pretty wide. Our Malatron can search for a Chieftain, which will buff up all of our creatures through that +1/+1 anthem. Risen Reef is pretty cool. Whoops. I don't know how that opened. That was my spacebar. 4 mana. Leafkin Druid hits the Risen Reef again. Another Leafkin Druid also hits the Risen Reef, so plenty of blockers. He's drawing no land, which is good. That means no zombies. The bummer is we also draw land. We don't have enough mana to play our Malatron and the 3-cost Lord, so we're just going to play from the library if we can. We'll go for it, we're out of mana. It makes a good drop next turn. That's a lot of hammers. There's no haste on the field, but I don't think it matters. That's a 21-21. Where's the Embercleave when you need it, right? Could you imagine Embercleaving that? That would be ridiculous. Embercleave would be very cheap because we have so many attackers that maybe that's something we start flirting with within the Goblin deck. Oh my lord, could you imagine? Taken down to 3, we only lose the 1 creature. Ending our turn, he definitely needs one of those volleys to clean up these tokens. We're praying he doesn't get it, right? If he drops an Omnarth, it can kill our mob boss as well, which is pretty sad. Ideally, he does both of those things. Whoa, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 green elemental creature token. Woo, so he's making zombies and these elementals. Very cool. He's gonna make, what, 3 or 4 of them? 3. That's something. There's stuff happening here, you guys. That is the majority of his land base, though, at least. So this is... Oh, actually not, because of the Leafkin Druids. Oh, no. Right? Let's see where he gets it with it. Arisen Reef, sure. Hopefully there's no land and it just draws. Okay, 1 draw. Two draw, no lands. That's good for us. Another Explore. Oh no. He has to draw a card. Hopefully no land. It is. And not only is it a land, it's a Fable Passage. So it comes in as a land, it sacrifices itself, and then another land comes in on top of it. So pretty gross. Our opponent is going plenty wide. The thing is, though, unless there's a Blazing Volley, I think we still have game due to our Chieftain Lord. But a single volley will absolutely murder us here. So that's not good. I'm sure he's drawn it just due to the sheer volume of value he's received through his Risen Reef. And these elementals trigger Risen Reef again. This is like an infinite loop here with the Zendikar's Royal and the Risen Reef. This is going forever. He might mill himself, right? For every land that enters the battlefield, he takes 2 off the top of his library from Risen Reef. That's quite an ordeal. Very cool. Right? Woof. He's declining these draws at this point, I believe. And he's just playing the land. He's got to chill 11 cards in his hand now. Down to 16 in his library. Crazy stuff. Can he give his creatures haste? So we're not going wide anymore. He's going way wider than us. This is incredible. Very cool gameplay footage here. I've never seen such madness before. Holy moly, you guys. Can we chump block and have him mill himself? I don't even think so. Right? That's crazy. Especially if there's a volley here. Really? He's definitely doing it. Oh my gosh. So because he has the volley, we won't have enough chump blockers. Because we need to keep all of our tokens to remake more tokens with our mob boss. That's the only thing that saves us. And if he has that volley, we're dead. He has the 3 lands, and he just straight up kills it. Nice. And then the volley. Oh my lord. What a madman. Okay, so that's good game. Oh lord. Well, it's a good thing we brought this crypt to deal with Uro. That enchantment's what we needed to deal with. I did not see that coming. This is the first time I've ever played against this, so. Zendikar's Royal with Risen Reef. That is powerful. My lord. Can we attack ourselves? Hello, good game. Woo! That is incredible. What a life to have lived. Oakley Dokley, Historic Mono Red Goblins is a beast. This deck is no joke. Check it out. I picked it up off MTGA Zone. Just a filthy net decker today. I forget who played it, but I do want to give shoutouts to whoever created it. You'll find it. I think they pushed it into like top 50. It's on the homepage right now, so go check it out. Historic Goblins, MTGA Zone is a great place to net deck. Other than my own channel, right? Be sure to get my decks first. But regardless, I think we had pretty fun with it, and this deck's going to stick around for a long time, so don't be scared to spend your wildcards on it, because it's not going anywhere. I would almost rather spend my wildcards on historic cards than standard cards, because these cards aren't going anywhere, and I know standard cards go into historic as well, so they're not going anywhere. But the power level on some of these historic cards is much, much greater than some of the standard cards. Like you'll notice Muxus, the Mob Boss, the Warchief. These are all brand new Jumpstart historic cards that have been injected into the game. So it's very powerful. Don't ignore it. Historic is a lot of fun. The meta is a lot more diverse. You're not running into the top 4 tier decks over and over and over again against people trying to grind out the rank. You really have a much wider playing field where it's not going to be as repetitive, right? So you're going to play a Dragon's deck, you're going to play a Vampire's deck, you're going to play the Bant Control deck again, but it's going to rotate, and it's not going to be Bant Control, Wilderness Wreck, Sacrifice, and rotate again, right? So I think it's a lot more enjoyable play experience for not only beginners, but long-time players as well, who are looking for a break from the current aggressive 4-deck meta. So I'm really having fun with Historic, and I know you guys will too. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share to a friend, hit the bell icon so you're notified of all our future uploads, live on YouTube every morning, 6 a.m. Mountain Standard actually, and then live on Twitch around 7 Mountain Standard for the rest of the day, in the Discord, literally all day as well. So jump in there. Links for everything is in the description below. Can't wait to talk to you guys. I hope you all have a great day. As far as alternative build routes go, don't worry about it. Spend your mythics. No, there is no mythics to spend. Spend your rares. What do we have here? 4, 8, 11, 15, 19 rares, you guys, in the main deck. That's not that bad, and that includes the land. 22, 23, 24 rares total. It's a decent amount, I'll give you that, but nonetheless, this deck's not going anywhere. It's a ton of fun. Go have fun, enjoy, you guys. Let me know how you make out with it in either the comments below or the Discord. Take care, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Peace!